The second guest that I have this morning is Rachel McLean from Street Soccer Scotland. Welcome, Rachel. Nice picture.
Yeah, aye. One of many great shots that I've got.
Who's the guy on the right hand side? I think I know where the guy on the left hand side is. Who's this guy on the right hand side?
My right or?
Yeah, just over this side here with the blue jacket on.
That is David Duke. He's the CEO of Street Soccer Scotland, and he's sort of the guy that leads me in life.
Yeah.
Shows me the correct path.
You and I met last night. We had a chance to chat, which was good, and I learned a lot about Rachel's story. So we're going to start at the beginning, about the kind of how you got into sport, how you, what attracted you, and some of the little helps you had along the way.
Well, I've always loved sport, every sport, football, hockey, netball, basketball. I've all competed at some sort of level along the way, but football has always been my main sport, and I've played all my life. Growing up,
Primary school right through.
Primary school right through. Still today, I still play football, but also I've played rugby. I was in the Scotland squad for rugby. I had East Scotland trials for hockey. As well, Scotland Academy for football. Sport has been
And
massive.
basketball was your favourite sport, yeah?
Of course, aye.
Get back to football. So, here you are, growing up, going through school, lots of sport, lots of opportunities. What happened?
Well, basically, growing up, my parents were drug addicts, so life was quite tough for me. Especially sport, because it costs money. You need money to travel, money to participate in sports clubs. And I just, my mum just never had that. Obviously, she had an illness which not only affected her life, it affected my life and my sister's. So I sort of, through my mum's addiction, that had a big impact on my life, especially with sport, and I started to feel myself drawn away from sport because I was embarrassed.
What was causing? What was causing that? What was causing that drawn away from sport?
Just my mum's addiction, really. That's it. It was hard for me to engage with other people because when I was going to football or hockey or any sports, mum and dad was there, and they had the best gear and stuff like that, and I wasn't as well off. So it was embarrassing for me going along and knowing what's going on back home and letting it affect me when I get there.
Yeah, and things didn't get better quickly, did they? What happened in terms of you drawn away from sport, things happening with family?
Aye, well.
What happened to you? What was the impact on you?
We eventually got taken off my mum, and we had to live with my grandparents, and it never quite worked out so well for me there either. I ended up becoming homeless, and then sort of taking my own path into the wrong things. So I was drinking, smoking, taking drugs, all the things that a young person shouldn't be doing at quite 16, 17 years old. And it was just feeling isolated and feeling like I was really on my own. It was tough growing up.
It's tough. It's tough growing up anyway, but just with all these challenges you've had in there. And did you come away from sport completely, or was any of that left, or did you?
Well, what actually happened is when we got placed with my grandparents, my mum actually got clean. She is a totally different woman today. You can't imagine the two people she is now, and she's like a role model in my life now because she's done so well. So it was actually my mum that got me back into sport. She had found out about the Homeless World Cup trials, and she managed to prompt me to go along, and I went, and I really enjoyed it, and I remembered the passion and that I had for sport. And
what was that first time? You know, your mum kind of persuades you, so here's an opportunity for you to go. You've been out of it for a while. What was that first time going back to sport? What was that like? Were you nervous? Were you apprehensive?
I was very scared. It was really daunting because the Scotland trials, I was expecting the best of the best. And it was a good standard, and I felt quite comfortable. And I went along, and once I remembered what it feels like to kick a football again, and that feeling that you get in watching other people playing it, that passion was lit inside me again. So I kept going along, and I was eventually picked to play for Scotland in the Paris 2011 Homeless World Cup. Yeah. And I was also captain as well.
Yeah. Great. And one of the stories we talked about last night was around one of the games in there, wasn't it? It was against Brazil. Mm-hmm. I think people would be fascinated by that.
Well, of course, Brazil. When you hear Brazil in Scotland playing in football, you've already got a winner. So we were drawn in against Brazil in the quarterfinals, and we actually drew 2-2 with them. But unfortunately, we did get beat in some death penalties. But that is an amazing result for Scotland. And also for the girls, it was the first year in the competition. Brazil, they were holders of the Homeless World Cup and seeded number 1 to win the tournament. So it was a busy game. There was a lot of spectators watching that.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a moment though, wasn't it? Because after that game, everyone's really chuffed they've done well. 2-2 against Brazil. You know, anyone would be pleased with that. Tell us a wee bit of what happened after that. What was the reaction from other teams, from coaches?
Well, the initial turning point for me was I got back to the hostel and where we were staying in Paris, and the Kenyans were moving in, and like when they were moving in, they had their clothes in a shopping trolley because they didn't have suitcases. They had their other clothes in poly bags because they didn't have bags to put their clothes in. And I think we had been down for tea, and I got back in the lift, and these Kenyans were in the lift, and I was standing there, and they come up, and they were giving me cuddles, and they were saying, "What a game against Brazil! We were really rooting for you to win." And that's when it sort of dawned on me, like, you know, I go home and I feel sorry for myself for the situation that I'm in, where even though I'm homeless, I've got 4 walls around me. I've got people in my life that want to support me. They didn't have that. They live in extreme poverty, in mud huts. They didn't have clothes. Again, some of them never had shoes. So that's sort of what sparked me to come on, Rachel. It's time you start changing your future.
And you're on that journey now, and we'll talk a wee bit more just at the end about your dreams and what your aspirations will be. But there's been a couple of people who have kind of helped you along the way. You were saying you bumped into an old PE teacher the other day.
I did, my school PE teacher, he was a massive influence in my life. I mean, he always supported me in everything. And I was just recently telling him, because he knew that what my mum done and stuff, and I was captaining his football team at the time, and Kenny always rooted for me constantly. And I I spoke to him not so long ago and I told him everything that I was doing, and he sat in the car and he says he's been teaching for years, he's a dinosaur. And he sat there in the car and he was like, if I could pick a handful of pupils that I'm most proud of over my years of teaching, he says, you are definitely one of them. And that was just amazing to hear, because he's so respected, this guy, he's amazing.
You're putting something back as well, being a football player, you got a contract with Hibernian, you've got all sorts of ambitions there, we'll hear about those in a minute, but you're trying to put something back into, I know you do some teaching at Panmure.
Yeah, aye. Well, I've just recently got a contract with Street Soccer Scotland, and I've been volunteering with them since I came back from the Homeless World Cup. And right now we deliver an education programme to Panmure School, which is a school where children that have been thrown out of mainstream school, so they're slightly more challenging than you would get in another school. But no, it's going really well. We use football as a carrot, so like the work that they do, that's all based around football. So say we compile a fact sheet about Raheem Sterling, and then they have to answer the questions that are in the fact sheet, and just trying to get them to learn through something that they enjoy doing, and then we do that for an hour, and for the next hour we give them a bit of coaching and stuff, and the aim is for them to eventually run their own tournament for youths, which is promising.
Last question, which is one that I asked Carl as well, about your dreams going forward. What's on that agenda for someone who's been in a difficult place? You've now got it squared away. It's great to hear about your mum as well, that things are going well there. But what's next for Rachel? What's your dreams, both sport and life?
Well, my dream is to set up my own social enterprise, Sport for Girls, because the rate that females drop out of sport is, as you well know, it's quite massive between the age of primary school onwards.
Just learning quick, so getting the plug in early with this business.
So and to aim it at disadvantaged females in Scotland, and just to give people the opportunity to engage in sport like I never had when I was growing up, because of money issues and travel. So I'm looking at sort of bringing it to them.
And the football bit, come on,
also,
where are you going with that?
Well, I'm looking to hopefully maybe go on to play for Scotland, and also just make I play for the reserves just now with Hibs, so to make the first team would be amazing, and also to inspire other people, hopefully the way that street soccer's inspired me, and Davey and everybody that's at street soccer, just to hopefully do that.
Well, you've inspired me again, having listened to you for the second time in 2 days. It's been brilliant to meet you. I wish you and Callum all the best in your futures, and you've certainly got probably a lot of friends now in the audience. Rachel.
Thanks.